So now is my chance as president to address you and to share my reflections of my first year in the role. And I wasn't able to be with you last year when I assumed the role. And I must say that it is an emotional time for me. I wasn't able to be here because I lost my mom. And it was my mom who actually, if you read my first message in the journal, it actually was my mom who inspired me to be a nurse. And I hope she's listening here today, because she is the reason I became a nurse. And the reason that I think I find myself with the privilege to serve you as your president. When I was just 10 years old, she and my brother were very, very seriously injured in a motor vehicle crash. They were hit head-on by a drunk driver. And so I spent a year in and out of my mom, visiting my mom in hospital, and I got to see in an indelible way the difference that nursing made to not only my mom's recovery, and she had the privilege of living until a year ago at the age of 93, but also to us as a family of 5 children, my brother down the hall in ICU. It was just an incredible experience. And so while it's an emotional day, it's actually also a day of celebration for me to have completed my first year. And so when I reflected back on this first year, I thought of words that would describe it: inspiring, thrilling, busy. But I think I can honestly say the highlight of my career. And I've been a nurse for a few years. That best summarizes, I would say, the first year of my presidency. And I believe that this past year and the year coming up and those years after will continue to be years of celebration. Because how could it be otherwise? You know, I've been here today, and you know, I know you've heard a lot from me in terms of the formal business of the meeting. But I have met so many incredible RNAO members over the past year. And I can say each of you a leader in your own right, whether as direct clinicians, administrators, educators, researchers, policymakers, just incredible. And I have to use my time strategically, so I had to pick a couple of stories that when I did my cross-province tour in the fall, I actually did a bit of a journal because I was just so moved by what I saw, what I learned, who I met. But a couple of things that I wanted to share today. One was my visit to Northern Ontario, and it was meeting with nurses at Northern Health Sciences. I had an opportunity to tour and spend quite a bit of time there. And I can tell you that I got incredible access to the floor, to the various wards, and it was quite something to see nurses caring for patients because of overcrowding in tub rooms. First and foremost, nurses provide care wherever that care is needed. And what I witnessed was just that. Yes, was overcrowding an issue, and did I hear about that from the CNE because I wanted to know both the strengths and opportunities that were in this acute care setting? But that isn't what I heard first and foremost about, or what I felt as I walked in that institution, which was the caring, the compassion, the patients first and foremost was what I experienced in a palpable way. I also saw firsthand patients in hallways, patients in tub rooms. So what that does for me is bring me back with even more deepened convictions to the kind of advocacy policy work that happens here. I also talk to nurses in so many different areas. And I also, when I was in London, I had the opportunity to meet with some community health nurses who talked about their role in caring for refugees, providing home care services for Syrian refugees. And one nurse shared with me a visit that she had done that day to a refugee family who had come, mostly spoke Arabic, very little command of the English language, but able to communicate in those nonverbal ways. And she said, you know what, Carol, the purpose of my visit was to dress an amputation of a 12-year-old boy who had come from that devastated, war-torn country, and who sat beside him but his twin brother. And she said, the privilege of being to go into this home and provide nursing care. But what she did say to me was, we need more capacity building, more competency development in cultural competency, caring cross-culturally, caring about newcomers to this country, be they refugees from war-torn countries or newcomers who are coming to assimilate into this culture. So they were two very, very powerful. I had so many, but I want to thank you all for the generosity of welcoming me into your various settings, and I will be touring, I hope, again next year, so invite me. But I can say that you are the people that propel me as a leader. You propel me to speak from a place of values, with evidence and with courage. And to do that advocacy that we need in Ontario. We need it for our profession, and we need it for the clients and patients that we care for. It's similarly, as I'm speaking to you as your president right now, but it is absolutely what propels this entire association. It's you. The RNAO board and the Home Office staff, our CEO, we're stewards. We're stewards of this association. But you, the members, this is your association. This is our association. And I can say that this train is moving pretty quickly. And Doris and your Home Office staff, wow. This track, you're driving it, and this train is, what would you say? It's an express. It's going at breakneck speed. So let's keep it up. Let's keep it up. I think yesterday evening, hearing from Minister Hoskins, Patrick Brown, and Franz Gilleno, and today hearing from the Premier, what a testament to the impact and influence we're having. Look at those announcements. That's because of the as Doris spoke, I think, earlier today about you identifying issues, talking about what you're seeing. What are the issues that are important to you as members of RNAO? And through much work and analysis and evidence and taking that forward politically, these are the kinds of changes that you're seeing as a result of that. So, I mean, it's just incredible. And then this morning, when Doris gave her report, Doris, I want to recognize that you several times mentioned that it is members' voices in the thousands, in those action alerts, in you meeting with your MPPs, speaking out, finding the courage to name the issues. That's what seals the outcomes that we're achieving together. So when you meet with your MPPs, whether in your ridings or it's Queen's Park Day, or you welcome them into your workplaces to show them what's really happening, when you respond to action alerts, you talk to your families and friends, you proudly say that you're a nurse, it is your belief in the collective cause of RNAO that makes RNAO such a strong voice for RNs, NPs, and nursing students. Whether it's on social determinants of health, health system restructuring, our roles as RNs and NPs, or the future of nursing students, we are charting the path and governments are following. That's quite a powerful place to be in. I can say that as a leader, I have found immense personal growth in my approach to political engagement. I can say that when I first sat down face to face with some politicians, I had some butterflies. But I never went feeling unprepared. The strategizing, the preparation, the policy work. I mean, Doris, I have to say to you and Home Office staff, supported by our board, I never felt that we were out of our depth when we were at that table. And I was always fascinated by how government listens. So I think I have found my stride. I've learned to be more agile and nimble and think on my feet. And that indeed is because of the privilege I have to serve you as your president. So I want to close with a couple of things that make me particularly proud as your president and as a member. I think really the first is the announcement, and let's hope it passes, for safe injection sites. Honestly, and I will declare my bias, but I want to share very quickly a unique perspective. As you know, I work at Toronto Public Health, and the idea and the initiative was spearheaded by the former Medical Officer of Health, Dr. David McEwen. And when there was deliberations, 5 years ago, 7 years ago, the Toronto Drug Strategy talked about bringing safe injection sites. We knew we had people dying on the streets needlessly. And so it took a few years to assess the community readiness, local municipal readiness, but finally we got our courage. And when people got together to talk about who do we need to be right here at our side, and sometimes even ahead of us, to spearhead the charge, and guess what organization got named? RNAO. It was RNAO that got approached, and I can say safely that it was RNAO who played a huge, huge role in helping political decision makers see that drug addiction is a disease. It's an illness. It's not something to be shunned and treated differently. It's an essential component of a comprehensive harm reduction strategy. And as a public health nurse, and as someone who one day walked into my office not far from here, and as I'm walking in the front doors, and we do have the works on the front main floor of our building, there's usually a crowd around, but I walked in and I saw yellow tape in the back alley, and I thought, what's going on? So later on that morning, I learned that a young man, this is about 6 years ago now, a young man had been discovered dead in the back alley behind 277 Victoria Street. And he had died sometime in the night of a drug overdose. And it was my office window that looks over that. And I have to say that I'm getting emotional today because I know that that young man could be my son, your brother, your son, your cousin. So as a mother, as a member, I just feel immensely proud. So thank you to all of you. Sorry to get so emotional, but that's what we do as an organization. And now when I look out on that alleyway, I'm going to do it with a different view of hope, and to know that we've made a huge difference and that we're not shunning people who are struggling with this addiction. So I'm halfway through my presidency. I'm proud of the journey we've walked together. And if our achievement this year is any indication about what next year will bring, what can I say? With an RNAO board and assembly such as we have, with wise and engaged members like you, and the combined strength of 41,000 members, RNs, NPs, and students across all corners of this beautiful province, and add in the amazing ingredients of our CEO, who's a fearless leader of our home office staff. The sky's the limit, folks. So anchored in our values, driven by evidence, and fueled by courage, we're going to continue to make a difference. And I thank you very deeply from the bottom of my heart for the opportunity to serve as your president for one more year. Thank you so much.